I never thought my own transformation would become a problem for my family. When my sister announced her wedding, my parents immediately looked at me with concern in their eyes. At 280 pounds, I was told I needed to slim down to avoid ruining Violet's perfect day with my appearance and family photos. I reluctantly agreed, not knowing this forced weight loss journey would change everything between us forever. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from today. Hit that like button and subscribe to follow my journey of unexpected revenge and self-discovery. Growing up as the heavy kid in the family was never easy. At 26 years old and 280 pounds, I had learned to make peace with my size. My sister Violet, on the other hand, had always been naturally thin. Despite our physical differences, we maintained a close relationship throughout childhood and into adulthood. While she pursued a career in marketing, I found my niche as a software developer working remotely for a tech company in Seattle. My weight had always been an issue with my parents, but as an adult, I had established enough independence that their comments about my size had become less frequent, though no less painful when they occurred. My life was comfortable. I had good friends, a job I enjoyed, and had even started dating occasionally. Sure, I wished I could drop some weight, but after years of failed diets and exercise programs, I had reached a point of relative acceptance. That all changed when Violet called one Sunday evening, her voice bubbling with excitement. "I am engaged," she practically squealed through the phone. "Thomas proposed last night." I felt genuine happiness for my sister. Thomas came from a wealthy family, but more importantly, he treated Violet with respect and kindness. They had been dating for 3 years, and their engagement seemed like the natural next step. "That is amazing, Violet. Congratulations," I replied with sincere enthusiasm. "Mom and Dad want to host a celebration dinner this weekend," she continued. "Can you make it? It would mean so much to have you there." That Saturday, I arrived at my parents' suburban home bearing a bottle of champagne and a card for the happy couple. The evening started pleasantly enough. My father grilled steaks, while my mother prepared her famous potato salad. Violet showed off her impressive diamond engagement ring, and Thomas shared their plans for a June wedding approximately 8 months away. It was during dessert when my mother first made the comment that would set everything in motion. "We will need to start thinking about attire for the wedding party," she said, her eyes lingering on me a bit too long. "The photographer will be one of the best in the city. The photos will be something the family will treasure forever." My father nodded in agreement. "First impressions with Thomas's family will be important too. They are very particular about appearances." I shifted uncomfortably in my chair, suddenly very aware of how tightly my shirt buttons strained across my stomach. Violet seemed to notice the direction of the conversation and quickly changed the subject, but the damage was done. The seed had been planted. 3 days later, my parents invited me over for dinner suspiciously without Violet or Thomas present. The atmosphere was tense from the moment I arrived. My father waited until we had finished eating before clearing his throat. "Son, we need to discuss something important about the wedding." He began, his business negotiation voice in full effect. "Your mother and I have been doing some calculations. The wedding is 8 months away, and with a healthy rate of weight loss, you could reasonably lose 60 to 80 pounds by then." I nearly choked on my water. "Excuse me." My mother reached across the table and patted my hand. "Honey, we are only thinking of what is best for everyone. Violet deserves a perfect day. Thomas's family is very influential, and the photos will be in circulation for years." "Are you seriously asking me to lose weight for a wedding?" I asked, my voice rising despite my attempts to stay calm. "Not asking," my father clarified. "We are willing to invest in making this happen. A personal trainer, nutritionist, new clothes when you reach your goal weight. Whatever it takes." The conversation continued for another painful hour. They presented statistics about wedding photos, mentioned Thomas's mother's connection to local social circles, and even suggested I could participate less in wedding events if I was unwilling to make an effort. Throughout it all, Violet remained noticeably silent, neither present to defend me nor informed of this intervention, as I would later discover. That night I drove home in a daze, parked in front of my apartment building, and broke down. Tears streamed down my face as I recalled every hurtful comment from my childhood. The time my father had offered me $10 for every pound I lost when I was 12. My mother removing my plate during family dinners, suggesting I had had enough. Years of being told my weight was a personal failure, a lack of willpower. Once inside my apartment, I called my best friend James, who listened patiently as I recounted the conversation. "That is seriously messed up," he said after I finished. "What are you going to do? I do not know," I admitted. Part of me wants to tell them to go to hell, and the other part I sighed heavily. The other part wonders if maybe they are right. Maybe I should lose weight. Not for them, but for me. "Whatever you decide to do, do it for yourself, not for them," James advised. That night I ordered a large pizza and ate the entire thing alone in my apartment, washing it down with beer and self-loathing. The next morning I woke up feeling physically and emotionally worse than before. I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, seeing myself through my parents' critical eyes for the first time in years. After much internal debate, I called my doctor and scheduled an appointment to discuss weight loss options. A week later, I reluctantly agreed to my parents' offer of financial support for a personal trainer and nutritionist. Not because I wanted to meet their expectations, but because some small part of me wondered if this external pressure might succeed where my previous efforts had failed. My weight loss journey officially began 6 months before Violet's wedding. My parents wasted no time hiring Sophia a personal trainer known for her work with transformation clients. Our first session was nothing short of torture. After assessing my starting point, she put me through a workout that left me nauseated and barely able to walk. "That was just the evaluation," she said with a smile as I lay panting on the gym floor. "The real work starts tomorrow." The initial changes to my diet were equally brutal. Michael, the nutritionist, eliminated virtually everything I enjoyed eating and replaced it with measured portions of lean protein vegetables and complex carbohydrates. The first week was marked by headaches, irritability, and constant hunger as my body protested the sudden change. My parents instituted weekly weigh-ins at their house every Sunday morning. My father would record the numbers in a spreadsheet while my mother took progress photos. The clinical nature of these sessions made me feel like a science experiment rather than their son. Despite my resentment, my body began responding to the consistent training and diet. By the end of the first month, I had lost 12 pounds. My clothes fit a bit looser, and I noticed slight improvements in my energy levels. "Good start," my father commented, looking at his spreadsheet. "But we need to accelerate progress to hit the target before the wedding." Sophia increased the intensity of our sessions to 5 days a week. Surprisingly, I found myself looking forward to our training. Unlike my parents, she celebrated every improvement, no matter how small. When I added 10 pounds to my bench press, she high-fived me with genuine enthusiasm. When I completed my first unassisted pull-up, she recorded it on her phone and played it back, pointing out the strength I had developed in my back and shoulders. "You have got natural athleticism underneath," she observed during our 3rd month. "Your body responds really well to strength training." Michael adjusted my nutrition plan as we progressed, gradually incorporating more variety as my understanding of portion control improved. He taught me to cook simple, nutritious meals and explained the science behind our food choices, rather than just handing me a list of restrictions. "Nutrition is not about punishment," he explained. "It is about fueling your body for the work it needs to do." By the 3-month mark, my transformation was becoming noticeable to others. Colleagues commented on my changing appearance during video calls. Friends I had not seen in person were visibly surprised when we met for drinks, club soda only for me. I had lost 30 pounds. My face was slimmer, and I had to buy new pants as my old ones would no longer stay up even with a belt. My parents' reaction to this progress was not what I had expected. "You still have a long way to go," my mother remarked during one Sunday weigh-in. "The wedding is only getting closer." "At this rate, you will still be overweight for the ceremony," my father added, studying his spreadsheet with a frown. Violet, who had finally learned about our parents' ultimatum, took me aside after one such session. "I want you to know that I never asked them to do this," she said, her eyes filled with concern. "You know I would love you at any size." I know I assured her, surprised to find that I meant it. "Honestly, this started because of them, but I am beginning to do it for myself." And it was true. Something had shifted within me. The discipline required for this transformation was spilling over into other areas of my life. I found myself more focused at work, meeting deadlines with greater efficiency. My boss noticed the change and mentioned potential opportunities for advancement if my performance continued at this level. Seeking to understand the psychological aspects of my relationship with food, I began seeing a therapist who specialized in eating disorders and body image. Dr. Linden helped me recognize patterns established in childhood that had followed me into adulthood. Food became a comfort because affection from your parents was conditional, she observed during one session. You learned early that you could not control their approval, but you could control how food made you feel. I started keeping a journal tracking not just my physical progress, but my emotional responses as well. On difficult days, I would write about my frustrations and fears. On good days, I celebrated victories, both large and small. As my body changed, so did my social life. I found myself connecting with a community at the gym who knew nothing about my past or my family's ultimatum. To them, I was just another person committed to fitness. I formed friendships with people who encouraged my efforts rather than criticizing my shortcomings. 2 months before the wedding, I reached a significant milestone. I had lost 60 pounds, and my body had transformed in ways I never thought possible. Sophia suggested I participate in a local fitness challenge, a friendly competition that would showcase the strength and endurance I had developed. You are not the same person who walked into this gym 6 months ago, she said. It is time you proved that to yourself. Shopping for clothes became an unexpected source of both anxiety and pleasure. Standing in fitting rooms, I often did not recognize the person staring back at me in the mirror. Gone was the soft roundness that had defined me for so long, replaced by emerging muscle definition and a jawline I had not seen since high school. At work, I noticed a change in how people interacted with me. Amanda, a project manager I had worked with for years, began finding reasons to collaborate more closely on projects. During a team lunch, she sat next to me and complimented my transformation. It is not just the physical changes, she said, her eyes meeting mine. You carry yourself differently now, more confidently. As the wedding approached, I found myself in uncharted territory. I had surpassed even my own expectations, losing 70 pounds total. The journey that had begun as a humiliating ultimatum from my parents had evolved into a profound personal transformation, one that extended far beyond the number on the scale. The final phase of my transformation coincided with the last few weeks before Violet's wedding. By this point, I had lost over 70 pounds and my body had changed dramatically. Regular strength training had built noticeable muscle across my chest and shoulders. My face, once round and soft, now featured defined cheekbones and a strong jawline. Even my posture had improved, the slouch I had developed to minimize my presence replaced by straight, confident alignment. With Sophia's encouragement, I had entered a local fitness challenge organized by our gym. The competition included events testing strength, endurance, and agility. To my amazement, I placed third overall, earning a small trophy and the genuine respect of the fitness community I had joined. The photographer captured a moment of me crossing the finish line of the final event, arms raised in triumph, face glowing with accomplishment rather than just exertion. My wardrobe underwent a complete overhaul. Nothing in my closet fit anymore, necessitating shopping trips that my mother initially offered to supervise. I declined instead, asking Sophia to recommend a personal stylist who helped me select clothes that fit my new body and projected the confidence I was beginning to feel internally. For the first time in my life, I enjoyed seeing my reflection and took pride in my appearance. The wedding week arrived with a flurry of activities, beginning with a welcome dinner for out-of-town guests. I arrived at the upscale restaurant my parents had selected, dressed in a tailored navy suit that accentuated my transformed physique. The reactions from extended family members validated the changes I had worked so hard to achieve. "I did not recognize you," my aunt exclaimed, embracing me. "You look incredible." My cousin Mark, who had always been the family's designated handsome one, studied me with surprise. "Seriously impressive man. What is your workout routine?" Throughout the evening, I found myself center of conversations, fielding questions about my transformation, with a confidence that felt both foreign and exhilarating. Thomas's family, the wealthy connections my parents had been so concerned about impressing, were particularly attentive. "Discipline like that speaks volumes about character," Thomas's father commented, clapping me on the shoulder. While part of me basked in the positive attention, I could not help noticing my parents' reactions. Rather than sharing in my success, they seemed uncomfortable with the spotlight shifting in my direction. My mother repeatedly interrupted conversations to redirect focus back to Violet and the wedding preparations. My father remained unusually quiet, his expression tightening each time someone complimented my achievement. The rehearsal dinner the following evening brought the tension to a new level. I had been paired with one of Violet's bridesmaids, a college friend named Grace, who had apparently not been informed of my transformation. When I introduced myself, she blinked in confusion. "I was told I would be walking with Violet's brother," she said. "That is me," I confirmed with a smile. "Oh, I am sorry," she replied, blushing slightly. "I was expecting someone different based on an old photo Violet showed us." Throughout the dinner, I noticed Thomas's cousin Natalie glancing in my direction. She eventually made her way to my table, introducing herself with a directness that matched her confident demeanor. "You must share your secret," she said, sliding into the chair beside me. "I have a client who would kill for results like yours." I learned she owned a boutique public relations firm in Manhattan, representing clients in fashion and entertainment. Her interest seemed both professional and personal, her hand occasionally touching my arm as we spoke. Later that evening, I overheard a conversation that shattered any remaining illusion about my parents' motives. Standing in the hallway outside the private dining room, I heard my mother's voice hushed but distinct. "It has gone too far," she was saying. "Everyone is talking about him instead of Violet. That is not what this was supposed to be about." "I know," my father replied. "We just wanted him presentable for the photos, not turning into some gym-obsessed attention seeker. Thomas's cousin has barely left his side all night." My mother continued, her voice tight with disapproval. What will people think? I stood frozen, their words confirming what I had begun to suspect. They had never wanted me to succeed. They had only wanted me to blend in to avoid embarrassing them. My transformation was acceptable only to the point that it did not draw attention away from the narrative they wanted to present. The wedding day arrived with clear skies and perfect temperatures. As I dressed in my groomsman's tuxedo, adjustments were required even from the final fitting just 2 weeks earlier. The stylist knelt at my feet, pinning and tucking with growing frustration. "Stand still, please," she requested. "I do not understand how it is possible to lose more weight since your final fitting." My mother appeared at the door of the dressing room, her expression tense despite her carefully applied makeup. "Is there a problem here?" "No problem," the stylist assured her. "Just some last-minute adjustments." When the stylist stepped out to retrieve more pins, my mother closed the door behind her. "We need to talk about today," she said, her voice low and controlled. "Your father and I think it would be best if you could tone things down a bit." "Tone what down?" I asked, genuinely confused. "I am just standing in the place I am told and smiling for photos." "You know what I mean?" she continued. "The way you are carrying yourself, drawing attention. This is Violet's day, not yours. There is no need to make such a spectacle of your changes." The conversation escalated quickly, culminating in my mother's frustrated admission, "We wanted you to lose weight, so you would not stand out in the wrong way. Now you are standing out for different reasons, and it is still inappropriate." The door opened unexpectedly, revealing Violet in her wedding gown, her expression shifting from joy to concern as she registered the tension in the room. "What is going on?" she asked. Before my mother could respond, I explained what had just been said. Violet's face flushed with anger. "Are you serious right now, Mom? After everything he has accomplished, you are criticizing him for looking too good." The confrontation that followed was brief but intense, with Violet firmly defending me and making it clear that she was proud of my transformation. My mother eventually retreated, insisting she had been misunderstood. The ceremony proceeded without further incident, though the emotional wounds inflicted that morning remained raw. As I stood at the altar watching my sister exchange vows with Thomas, I made a decision. I would not diminish myself or my accomplishments to make others comfortable. Not anymore. The reception became the turning point. Rather than shrinking into the background as I had done at family gatherings throughout my life, I fully embraced my new self. I delivered a heartfelt toast to my sister, danced enthusiastically to every song, and engaged warmly with guests from both families. Natalie sought me out again, more direct in her interest, now that the formalities were concluding. "I am in town until Tuesday," she mentioned as we shared a dance. "Perhaps we could continue this conversation over dinner tomorrow." As the evening progressed, I overheard my father attempting to minimize my transformation when asked by Thomas's uncle. "Oh, it was just a crash diet for the wedding," he said dismissively. "You know how these things go. Probably put it all back on by Christmas." Something inside me snapped. Years of conditional acceptance of being treated as an embarrassment, of having my worth tied to my appearance, crashed together in that moment. I approached them, my voice steady despite the anger coursing through me. "My transformation was not for your approval," I said quietly. "I realized during this process that I have never had your unconditional support, just your conditional acceptance when I meet your standards." My father's face reddened. "This is hardly the time or place." "It never is," I replied. "That is why nothing changes." After a final congratulatory embrace with Violet, who whispered her support in my ear, I left the reception early. That night, Violet called from the hotel where she and Thomas would stay before departing for their honeymoon. "I am so sorry," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I should have stepped in sooner. I knew what they were doing and I just stood by." "It is not your fault," I assured her. "This has been a long time coming." "What happens now?" she asked. "I am not sure," I admitted, "but I know I cannot go back to how things were before." In the weeks following Violet's wedding, I entered a period of emotional isolation from my parents. The harsh reality of their conditional love required distance for me to process. I declined Sunday weigh-ins and family dinners, focusing instead on building a life that reflected my new understanding of myself and my worth. My therapist, Dr. Linden, provided invaluable guidance during this period. "What you are feeling is legitimate grief," she explained during one session. "You are mourning the unconditional parental love you deserved but never fully received." "Sometimes I feel guilty for being angry," I admitted. "They paid for everything that made this transformation possible." "Financial support is not the same as emotional support," she countered. "One can be given without genuine care, often as a means of control." Violet called regularly from her honeymoon, and after her return, concerned about the family fracture her wedding had exposed. "I feel terrible that my wedding became the breaking point," she said. "It was going to happen eventually," I assured her. In a strange way, their ultimatum gave me the push I needed to make changes I had always wanted to make. Not just physically, but in how I see myself and what I am willing to accept from others. Professionally, things were moving forward rapidly. My increased confidence and energy translated to improved performance, leading to the promotion my boss had hinted at months earlier. The new role came with increased responsibility, a substantial raise, and the opportunity to build a team under my leadership. My friendship with Amanda evolved into something more, beginning with coffee after work and progressing to proper dates. She confessed that she had always been drawn to my intelligence and humor, but had sensed my lack of self-confidence as a barrier. "You are the same person at your core," she observed over dinner one evening. "But now you seem willing to be seen to take up space in the world." The fitness journey that had begun as an ultimatum became a sustained lifestyle. I continued working with Sophia, though our focus shifted from transformation to strength and athletic performance. When she suggested I might consider becoming certified as a trainer myself, I was surprised by how appealing the idea seemed. "You have a unique perspective," she pointed out. "You understand the emotional components in a way that naturally fit trainers sometimes cannot." Inspired by this idea, I started a fitness blog focused on the psychological aspects of physical transformation. Rather than posting shirtless selfies or promoting quick fixes, I wrote honestly about the mental challenges, the identity shifts, and the relationship changes that accompanied significant weight loss. To my surprise, the blog quickly gained a following, particularly among men who rarely found spaces to discuss these emotional dimensions. 3 months after the wedding, I moved into a new apartment in a different neighborhood, a tangible symbol of my fresh start. The process of selecting furniture and decor for a space that was entirely mine became an unexpected exercise in self-discovery. I chose items that reflected my emerging aesthetic rather than defaulting to practical functionality as I had in the past. 5 months after the wedding, my parents made an unexpected visit to my new apartment. My mother carried a houseplant as a peace offering while my father stood awkwardly in the entryway, surveying the changes in both my living space and my appearance. "You look well," my mother offered. "We have been worried about you." The conversation that followed was painful but necessary. They expressed concern about my distance while avoiding responsibility for what had caused it. When I pointed out the hurtful comments at the wedding, they defended their intentions. "We only wanted what was best for you," my father insisted. "Look at all the good that has come from our push." "I am grateful for the financial support that made this possible," I acknowledged. "But what hurt was realizing you wanted me to change only to a point that was convenient for you. You wanted me presentable but not noticeable, improved but not too improved." They struggled to understand this distinction, viewing their actions through the lens of parental concern rather than conditional acceptance. By the end of their visit, we had reached an uneasy truce rather than a true resolution. I established clear boundaries for our future relationship, making it clear that comments about my body weight or appearance were off limits. "I will always be your son," I told them, as they prepared to leave. "But how much I share of my life with you depends on your ability to see and accept me for who I am, not how I look." Over the following months, I found purpose in helping others navigate their own body image struggles. I partnered with Sophia to create a program for overweight teenagers, focusing on strength and capability rather than appearance or weight loss. Seeing their confidence grow as they discovered what their bodies could do rather than obsessing over how they looked brought a fulfillment I had never expected. Natalie and I maintained contact after the wedding, her busy New York schedule and my commitment to building my new life in Seattle, creating a natural distance that allowed for friendship without pressure. When her work brought her to the West Coast, we would meet for dinner, sharing perspectives on fitness career ambitions and family dynamics. 1 year after Violet's wedding, I attended a family gathering for my parents' anniversary. My relationship with them had evolved into something new, neither as close as before, nor as completely severed as it had been in the immediate aftermath of the wedding. They had learned with varying degrees of success to respect my boundaries about body comments. I had learned to engage with them on topics where connection was possible while protecting myself from their lingering tendency toward conditional approval. The physical transformation that had begun as an ultimatum had revealed deeper truths about my relationships, my capabilities, and my worth. The number on the scale, once so central to how I and others valued me, had become just one data point among many, neither defining my worth nor determining my happiness. Looking back on the journey from hurt to healing, I realized that the most significant change had not been in my body but in my mind. I had learned that true transformation comes not from meeting others' expectations but from recognizing my own inherent value. Conditional love, whether from parents or anyone else, creates a shifting foundation that cannot support genuine growth or happiness. The lesson I carry forward is not about weight loss or physical achievement, but about the freedom that comes from breaking free of external validation. Our worth is not measured by others' approval or by conforming to their image of who we should be. The most powerful change happens when we learn to define success on our own terms and build a life that reflects our authentic selves rather than others' expectations. Have you ever experienced conditional acceptance from family or friends? How did you find your way to self-acceptance? Share your stories in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please give this video a like and subscribe to hear more stories of transformation and growth. Remember that your worth is not determined by your appearance or others' approval. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you strength on your own journey to authentic self-love.